Let's get to the question you're not going to answer. Want to guess?
Can't imagine what this is.
Let me ask it anyway, and you can bat it away, because I'm not expecting you to announce now. But everybody's assuming you're going to announce reasonably soon. You're going to run for President of the United States. Are you?
So I haven't made a final decision on it. I've told people I've got a lot that I've got to do over the next few months in Florida. We're going to put a lot of points on the board, and then we'll see how the dust settles after that. But I can tell you, we just have a lot of people that realize the country's not going in the right direction and believe that what we've been able to do in Florida, if we could apply that nationally, would kind of get America back on track and back on our foundations. And so I take that very seriously. It's humbling that people have come to me and asked me to do it or urged me to do it. So stay tuned.
That sounds like almost a yes.
It's a stay tuned.
I mean, why wouldn't you?
Well, because, I mean, look, I've got a young family. I mean, I've got different obligations, and it's not the easiest thing in the world to go through. And I also want to make sure that, I have a very clear rationale for doing what I'm doing. All I'm interested in doing is getting things done and accomplishing things. I don't need a title. I don't need fanfare. I just want to know that if I put my mind to this, if we ever did that and we're successful, what could I do to make a difference? And that's what I have to have.
Do you think you have what it takes to be President of the United States?
Look, I think what it takes is to have a vision for the country, have the ability to exercise leadership, and being willing to stand in that fire when it gets really, really hot and not back down under pressure. And I think I have all those things.
You got a great endorsement from someone. Ron DeSantis is a brilliant young leader, Yale and then Harvard Law, who would make a great governor of Florida, which turned out to be true. He loves our country. He's a true fighter. I mean, there's a ringing endorsement from President Trump.
Times change a little bit, I guess. It is what it is. So.
Yeah, I mean, he was a big fan.
No, I mean, I think, and I think, we had a good relationship as a congressman. And I think one of the reasons he got to know me is because I saw this Russia collusion thing as a farce from the beginning.
Right.
Very few people said that. We had a handful of us in Congress that were fighting back against that. And so I would go out on TV and I would defend him when it wasn't popular and when it was kind of politically risky. But I just thought it was the right thing to do. And I thought that he had good ideas for the country. So I wanted to do it. And then when I became governor, his last 2 years as president, I was governor my first 2 years, and we worked very well together. I mean, he had a place in Florida. He wasn't a resident yet, but he understood Florida and really worked well with us to serve our state.
You made a fatal error in your relationship with
What's that?
Donald Trump. You got too popular.
Well, I would say if you look at some of the change from that and all the way up, what's been the kind of the major thing that happened that's changed his tune was my re-election victory.
Right.
I mean, that's kind of the mark.
Well, because many of his picks in the midterms did badly, and you, who had been, he was a mentor in many ways, I guess, early on, had this thumping victory. And I guess if you're him and you're desperate to get back to the White House, this was a bit of a nightmare that you were getting such validation in Florida.
My view, though, is like, look, we should want the country to do well. I want other Republicans to do well. I want them to eclipse me. We're setting a great standard in Florida. Have everyone up their game. I want other governors to do a great job.
Which is your favorite nickname that Trump's given you so far? Is it Ron DeSanctimonious or Meatball Ron?
Well, I can't.
I think even he went off Meatball Ron.
I can't. I don't know how to spell DeSanctimonious. I don't really know what it means, but I kind of like it's long. It's got a lot of vowels. I mean, so we go with that. That's fine. You can call me whatever you want. I mean, just as long as you also call me a winner, because that's what we've been able to do in Florida is put a lot of points on the board and really take the state to the next level.
At some stage, I mean, have you read Mary Shelley's book Frankenstein?
I have not.
Okay, it's a great book, and obviously it's spawned several movies. But there are prophetic words of warning from Dr. Waldman to Dr. Frankenstein. You have created a monster, and it will destroy you.
And you're alluding to what? I have seen the movie, though. It is a good movie.
Well, you know what I'm talking about, Governor. It's like where Dr. Frankenstein creates a monster, then loses control of the monster, and in the book, obviously, the monster ends up killing him.
Well, look, at the end of
the parallel I'm making.
At the end of the day, what's best for the country, and let's put the country first rather than worry about any personalities or any type of individual ambition.
But
at the end of the day, I'm a vessel for the aspirations of the people I represent. It's really not about me.
That's true, but you're up against somebody who definitely cares who gets the credit, who's desperate to want to win back the White House and prove that his theory that he had it robbed
Well,
is
I'm
true?
not up against anybody, quite yet. We're up
Well,
against
the polls basically have you two
Yeah.
up here and everybody else down here. So if you did
But
run,
the way
you'd
I
see
view
him.
it, though, if I were to run, I'm running against Biden. Like, we're competing for the Republican potentially. I get that, but ultimately, the guy I'm going to focus on is Biden, because I think he's failed the country. I think the country wants a change. I think they want a fresh start in a new direction, and so we'll be very vocal about that.
Do you think you could beat Biden?
I think so.
So you're running then?
No, I didn't say that. I just said I think I could. I mean, I think that's. I mean, if you look at Florida,
Who would be harder to beat, Biden or Donald Trump?
I don't know. Those are two different electorates.
I mean, if you do decide to run, I mean, we can pretend around the horses here, but if you do decide to run in the next few months, obviously it will then be you v. Donald Trump for the Republican nomination. People have been quite kind of scathing. They've said you're house-trained Donald, you're Diet Coke to his full Coke, right? You've heard all this stuff. What are the differences between you?
Well, I mean, I think there's a few things. I mean, obviously, the approach to COVID was different. I mean, I would have fired somebody like Fauci. I think that he got way too big for his britches, and I think he did a lot of damage. I also think, just in terms of my approach to leadership, I get personnel in the government who have the agenda of the people and share our agenda. If you bring your own agenda in, you're gone. We're just not going to have that. So the way we run the government, I think, is no daily drama, focus on the big picture, and put points on the board. And I think that that's something that's very important.
You were responding to the reports, rumors of Donald Trump potentially being indicted. And you gave an interesting response, very sort of supportive of him in a way, by saying, yeah, I think what's happening there is outrageous. It's political posturing by the SDA and so on in New York, and they should be focused on more important things. But you also repeated twice you didn't have any knowledge of hush money being paid to porn stars. Was I right to feel that there was a slightly censorious tone to that kind of thing is just not anything you would ever get involved with?
Well, I think there's a lot of speculation about what the underlying conduct is. That is purported to be it. And the reality is that's just outside my wheelhouse. I mean, that's just not something that I can speak to. So, I hope it doesn't come to where you end up seeing this going forward. I mean, look, if you are a very strident prosecutor, and this guy's on the left, and you're not prosecuting a lot of crimes, Manhattan's gotten less safe, you're going to go after somebody on the other side for some novel offense. That just does not inspire confidence, and people see that as weaponizing the justice system. So I think it's fundamentally wrong to do that. And I just made it be known. But we'll see. Maybe it won't come to that. I mean, we haven't seen anything firm yet.
Does personal conduct in any leader politically in America, does it matter how you behave as a leader?
I mean, I think at the end of the day, what a leader, you really want to look to people like our founding fathers. Like, what type of character? It's not saying that you don't ever make a mistake in your personal life, but I think what type of character are you bringing? So somebody who really set the standard is George Washington, because he always put the republic over his own personal interests. When we won the American Revolution, Washington surrendered his sword. George III said, well, if he surrenders...
Can you not intrude into private grief? Without him, we could have had King Piers.
That's right.
By now.
But George III said, he's the greatest man in the world if he gives up power. And so I think the personal is more about how you handle your public duties and the kind of character that you bring to that endeavor.
How important is truth to you? We live in a world where people talk about my truth, as if somehow you can create your own version of the truth. To me, facts are facts. The truth is what it is. It's the truth. People feel, whether it's been in the US or the UK with Boris Johnson, they feel like there's been a departure from truth being an important factor of leadership.
100%. I mean, look, truth is essential. We have to agree that there's a certain reality to the world we live in. And if we can just create our own facts, then we're never going to be able to agree on anything or never really be able to do policy in a way that makes sense. And so, yes, it's not your truth or my truth, it's the truth.